Hey my friends, how's it going? It's Ultimus, and today I wanted to talk to you about a little bit more of the ability Prune, artifact weapons, and your thoughts on that. But before we get into the conversation as a whole, I have some PvP footage going on in the background, obviously, for you here from the Battleground Holiday Event bonus event that was going on over the past week and weekend. Getting in there, queuing up just for the heck of it, and getting those 500 extra conquest points for no other reason than it turns into more gold when the season is over, because I am fully geared. Good times, good times. That and it's kind of fun to just ruffle stomp some BGs occasionally. Every once in a while the table's turned and you yourself get ruffle stomped. I don't know what it was about these queues this week, but I swear I could not win a game to save my life. Normally as Alliance we kind of just roll just on into the battleground and just wreck face. But this time around, no such luck. Luckily, I was able to complete the event, and the 500 conquest is mine. But anyways, I digress. We have briefly mentioned before, and by briefly I mean we've made a couple of videos talking about it. The ability Prune, class changes, things like that going into Legion, so I'm not going to sit here and rant as much about all of that. Because that's been already dealt with. But what I want to talk to you guys then about is not specifically the forum post that was made. I will link those again. And again, I don't want to necessarily talk about those all over again because that will take up the entirety of our video. But I want to reference them because that's where a lot of this is sparked. In that forum post, or there's a couple that I'm thinking of right now actually. Blizzard specifically requested people leave feedback of abilities that their class is missing. That they specifically think that they should have back, as it adds to the fun factor or core gameplay mechanics of their class. One thing I think is important to keep in mind with all this is people have been asking for an ability Prune for a long time now. We finally got it. All of a sudden it was too much. There's a lot of things and there's a lot of features going into World of Warcraft I feel that Blizzard is genuinely trying to listen to feedback on and act on that in trying to be able to actually implement that in the game. Unfortunately, it's not being well received, whether it's because either A, the community doesn't actually know what they want, because that's kind of how people operate, or it was just done and executed poorly. So that being said, since I can't go through the forum post necessarily and search for each of you and kind of hear and see what your thoughts are on the ability Prune, I thought I'd make a video talking about it with you. I want to know what abilities that you know of that are being taken away from your class or spec as of now, the most recent build that's come out, and that you think your class should have back. One thing that was really cool was for a while Arms was losing Intimidating Shout, but it was brought back now. So Arms has Fear back again. And I think that's a classic example of what I'm going to touch on briefly, and that is I'm actually very proud of the WoW community in this instance, because for the most part, and I know there's a good percentage of people doing this, but for the most part, people have actually been really responsible and really cool about how they're responding to feedback like this. And that is, they're not just saying, oh my gosh, Blizzard, you suck, you're dumb, why would you do this? And then Blizzard can't do anything with that feedback because that's not actually telling them what's wrong. Instead, what the WoW community is doing really well, and that has been responding and posting on these forums or tweets or things like that and actually giving legitimate feedback, saying, hey, I don't understand why this ability was taken away. It was a lot of fun, and it added this core gameplay mechanic, or it added this functionality to classes and characters. Again, Spell Reflect, Intimidating Shout, things like that Warriors have lost that have been very, very iconic. And then we got Intimidating Shout back. I mean, it's not like it's the best thing ever, but it's a step in the right direction. And it's nice to know that we're seeing things like that Blizzard is taking that legitimate feedback. And I think that's the important thing. We need to define our terms here and understand what actual feedback is when it comes to the health and wealth and livelihood and well-being of this wonderful life-stealing game that we play. So for me, I know one ability that I miss from Warriors is Throwdown. Now, Throwdown comes from a time when Warriors weren't exactly the best. Cataclysm was an interesting time for Warriors, nestled right in between the glory days of Wrath of the Lich King and Mist of Pandaria. I think that was one of the times that Warriors were probably the most fun to me. Warriors seemed, especially Arms, specifically Arms, Felt so flushed out, well thought out, smooth. It functioned so well in Mist of Pandaria. It was just beautiful. And then to go from that to what we have in WoD is definitely a little disheartening. And so all of that to say, I missed the ability Throwdown. It was a simple ability. It functioned pretty much the same as Stormbolt, except you had to be within melee range. The animation was sick. It felt really powerful. Like, even it's basically a simple stun. Like, it's no different than any other stun that you're going to get into the game. But it looked cool, and the animation made it feel very unique to a warrior. I wasn't throwing a hammer at someone. I wasn't throwing any kind of magical effect at someone. I was hitting someone so hard over the back of their head that they fell over. Like, I don't know about you, but that feels like one of the coolest things as a warrior I can do as a stun. Stormbolt isn't a bad implementation either, because if you think about it, Stormbolt goes all the way back to Warcraft 3. Just throwing that out there. So I don't think Stormbolt is a terrible ability. I just preferred Throwdown over it. And I definitely would be totally cool with having to pick between, Stormbolt, Throwdown, or Shockwave. I don't know if that will ever actually happen. It seems like one of those abilities Blizzard is very intent on not bringing back. And so, just the pruning of abilities and things like that, and then the bringing of some abilities back under the same name or same icon, just functioning differently. I can understand how people are frustrated about that, but I want to know what your thoughts are on your class, and specifically the spec that you play. I'm not really sure why my video footage is lagging here. That's not good. That's not good at all. Might be time to clean out the computer. But I'm just curious to what your thoughts are on your class and spec specific purge. I think it's just interesting to hear what you guys have to say, since, again, I can't go to the forums and necessarily read your posts on it. So I want to know what you guys think here. Another thing that kind of came to mind was artifact weapons. Now, I very naively, when artifact weapons came out, just assumed that they were all going to be super functional in PvP. But the more I've been paying attention to it, the more I'm realizing that that was kind of dumb of me to just assume that, and they're probably more so being tuned around PvE. Now, this could very well be because we're getting a PvP talent tree, so the artifact weapon, while still usable in PvP, obviously is going to be more balanced around PvE. I can see that, and I don't hate the idea. I just think it's a little interesting, and I'd like to see it corrected, just, again, for quality of life purposes. But it's like you look at classes like, I believe, Resto Shaman's I don't remember which Warlock spec, Destruction or Affliction, I can't actually remember. And Unholy Death Knights, believe it or not. Right now we're at a place where a lot of their talents and a lot of their functionality for their artifact weapon and a couple other core mechanical abilities, speaking specifically of Unholy Death Knights, aren't really usable or worth using in PvP, and I think that's the big deal, worth using. Holy crap, that paladin just got wrecked. No, they're utterly, there's stuff in there, specifically in the Shaman artifact tree, that you look at that and it's like, I guess it's cool, but why would I ever cast that in PvP? I would never, it's not worth the global, it's not worth the resource, whatever it is. And so I'm curious what you think about your class's artifact weapon and its place in PvP. Even in PvE too, I suppose, since I know I have a couple of viewers who do mostly PvE, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think about them as well. I know as an arms warrior and someone who plays mostly arms, I really feel like the arms warrior talents have a place both in PvP and PvE, though I think I can very clearly see that it was tuned and designed with PvE in mind. That's not to say it's not going to be effective in PvP, especially since so much of it revolves around proccing, resetting, and applying that Colossus Smash debuff, which is wonderful. More Colossus Smash time means more damage, and more damage makes for happy warriors. And for happy warrior teammates, because we kill stuff and we do our job. It's great. But, yeah, just definitely curious about that, and really wanting to hear what you guys have to say. But that's just about it as far as kind of what we wanted to talk about. Again, I'd love to see a play, at least for warriors. And again, I know I'm biased because I play a warrior, but I'd love to see warriors get back to a place somewhere in between Wrath of the Lich King, Mist of Pandaria, and that whole play style. I know they got a lot of beef in Mist of Pandaria for the banners and things like that, and they were kind of made fun of. And But it added a fun, unique gameplay mechanic to warriors, and I guess you could argue that they were just glorified totems. I heard a couple of people complaining about. But it was fun, and it added a really good bit of mobility for warriors. And I kind of miss stuff like that. I miss having a solid amount of defensives. I don't need to have self-healing necessarily, or at least a good amount of self-healing. Enrage, regen, or even second wind when second wind was worth taking was good enough for me. Something to where I'm not completely helpless. But I'm completely okay with relying on healers for healing as long as healers are tuned appropriately. But not having very many defensives also going into Legion is kind of scary as well. So I'm optimistic though, because again, Blizzard has done a very good job, in my opinion, of responding to and keeping in communication with us at least once a week regarding the state of abilities and such. And of course, it is still alpha, so all this can change. But that's all I really want to talk about in regards to this video. I wanted to try to attack it from this angle rather than just addressing the facts again, since we've already done that. It seemed a little bit labored. But labored is the word I'm trying to say there. My goodness. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you did. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.